Hi there, this is a Access Virus T12 Polar synthesizer. It's quite revered for its analog sound quality, and I was really looking forward to playing this and seeing what the sound was like after I repaired this. But unfortunately I cannot repair this, and that's a great shame because Access do not provide any sort of support whatsoever, and without diagrams, without parts, well, without components, it's very difficult to repair something like this. I did repair a PreSonus Studio Live 24 channel mixer a while ago without circuit diagrams, without parts or anything. I was 3 days on that. Managed to do it in the end, but this it seems has beaten me, and it's one of very few things that I let beat me, because I endeavour to do everything I can. Unfortunately, if I open this up, you can see the insides. This is the culprit. This is the main board, and somewhere on there's a problem which is stopping it from booting up. You plug it in, nothing on the display, none of the buttons for updating software, for going to the test mode, none of the buttons respond. Unfortunately, all of these components here are unmarked. There's no circuit reference to them, nothing, no information. I contacted Access on several occasions. I even joined up with them. I registered with them, and they would not give me a circuit diagram. I explained that I am a service centre with a lot of experience, based in Brazil. I asked them whether they had a service centre in any of Brazil, which I can tell they don't have. I asked them if I could represent them in Brazil, because obviously if a product hasn't got any sort of service centre in a country, it's not going to really develop in the country. The person that owns this synth is a millionaire, and he loves it. He wants this repaired at any cost, he said. So this is why I've spent 2 days on it trying to resolve it. But unfortunately, without circuit diagrams, without parts, without any sort of help at all from Access, I can't do it. Just can't do it. I have to say, right, 2 days is enough time wasted on this, and I have to just give it up. As you can see, this has a 12 volt laptop type, I think it's 12 volt or 16 volt laptop power supply here. This is like a spillover from the desktop version, but they put it in a nice metal box. Very good quality, actually, the cases. The keyboard seems to be a bit of an afterthought, because this is just a cheap FATAR keyboard which is used on cheap Roland products, and Korg, Yamaha use these as well. A lot of manufacturers use these Italian FATAR keyboards. They're not terrible, but they're not particularly great quality. As you can see, there's a black plastic chassis there, and what can happen is if someone has got a belt buckle on, stands up and touches against the backside of these keys, you can actually break the plastic chassis. And the plastic chassis, which are sort of an oily type plastic, don't glue together with super glue, and you have to renew the plastic chassis really if that happens. So I don't really like these keyboards because of that reason, but they're reasonable enough. But on a keyboard of this ilk, of this cost, I think it is a bit cost cutting when you consider that the end cheeks here are wood. It's all very solid metal. It's a good case. Unfortunately though, as I say, all of these components here aren't labelled. There's no diagram available. They will not give out a diagram, and basically a lot of manufacturers now aren't releasing diagrams. They're not releasing them online. They will not give them out. And the reason being is that obviously from a circuit diagram, someone in China can clone faithfully any keyboard, any effects unit or anything on the market, and that's probably why they're not releasing these diagrams. And it's very, very difficult to get a diagram unless you're an authorized service center. So at the moment I'm chasing up all the importers into Brazil, trying to be authorized by them, and I've got several at the moment. Got about 5 different importers, each with 10 makes of equipment. I'm just trying to get as many as possible so that I can basically have access to diagrams and genuine parts. That's the other problem with parts in this country, and probably other countries as well. A lot of these parts become discontinued, and then somebody in China decides to make the parts again, but they're fake parts. They work for like 2 minutes or something, and then they fail. This is another big problem that I'm finding this time around running my service center. But anyway, this doesn't respond at all to anything, any keyboard, any button presses or anything. To switch this thing on, you have to hold these 2 buttons down here. This is actually plugged in at the moment. It's a double insulated plug at the back, figure of 8 should I say. You should press these 2 and it should power on. Nothing on the display. If I was to switch it off and switch it on several times, after about the 10th, 11th, 12th, 20th time, totally at random, you might get some blocks on the display. Sometimes if you're lucky you get blocks on the display with a backlight, but obviously that's no good to anyone. It doesn't respond to any of the button presses which bring it into updater mode. It doesn't respond to any sort of test mode. It's completely knackered. As I say, I've looked at the main board in detail, and I've tested all the power supplies on there. That's the first thing you go to. All the power supplies are present and correct. I've checked individually every single diode and resistor on the board. Apparently I've joined a few forums over this. A lot of people end up having to buy a new circuit board for these, which are about €480 plus shipping. Now €480 is an awful lot of money, and they don't do any sort of exchange service on the main board. So really this is a write-off, because I haven't got that sort of money to spend out on a customer's unit. The customer is very wealthy, but unfortunately in Brazil at the moment, our lovely Prime Minister has decided to put massive import duties on everything that's coming into the country in order to protect Brazilian businesses, to do with Shopee and clothes and that, but it affects electronics as well. So anything I order from, for example, AliExpress, has 100% import duty at the moment, which is ridiculous. If the elected president at the moment wanted to take a lot of businesses down, he's doing the right thing by doing that. It's horrendous. Also, the 480 odd euros plus shipping, that would have a lot of import duty as well. By the time I get it, if I get it, because things go missing in shipping sometimes, it probably end up costing the customer, I don't know, I would say converting to Brazilian reais, it would probably cost the customer about 4,000 or 5,000 reais to repair this unit by replacing the main board. So I don't know, 2 days on this, no support whatsoever from Access. I emailed them many times. They will not give me a diagram. They will not authorize me as the only authorized service center in Brazil. They don't have any other service centers here. The only alternative is obviously to buy the main board that they offered, or to send it all the way to Germany from Brazil, which in freight would be a massive cost. So unfortunately, this is one of the very few items that I cannot repair. It's not through lack of trying, but it's through lack of complete support available. I've joined forums, some forums saying, yeah, replace the diode, service center replaced the diode and it worked. I've been through all the diodes. Another forum said, yeah, it's C100, that's what it is. They're not even marked the components on there. I've checked all the capacitors individually using my very good LCR meter, which is a DREE 5000, a very good Japanese LCR meter, and all the capacitors are measuring fine. So what more can you do? I would say somewhere there's some sort of lazy component, lazy IC, which doesn't want to start up. I've tried heat on it, I've tried freezer spray, I've tried everything. So unfortunately now I'm going to have to bolt this back together, give it back to the customer, and he's going to have to send it to Europe or something like that. There's no other service center in Brazil that can do this anyway. I've got 35 years experience with Roland and a lot of experience with analog and digital synths and all sorts of things, valves, everything I do. But unfortunately this is one of the ones that I cannot do anything with through complete lack of information. So well done Access in Germany. Your products aren't going to prosper here in Brazil without any sort of assistencia, any sort of technical backup, any sort of support. You're going to get what's coming to you.